What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Really close here to getting this thing on the road, driving, and even closer to getting this thing on the trail and wheeling. So one of the last kind of major-ish projects that we need to do is the corner armor, and the last major project, including some fabrication, is going to be the bump stops. But today we're going to focus on this. I really want to show you guys how I have the measurements available to me to cut out this wheel well. So we're going to jump right into it. You'll notice these grids here. What you won't notice is the measurements that I have, but I'm going to show you how to get those. So I have flexed this thing out, and I know that this is a good opening that will work when those coilovers are fully compressed. I may have to trim if I go to 40s, but that's all right. I want it to look really good. So what I did is I got this big framing square, and you have one point of reference, and that's the back of the Jeep. So you can put that right up against there, and now you have your measurements. So these, this is gonna be really difficult for me to hold, but you'll notice that all these lines are at every 3 inches. That's just what I chose to use. So I drew those as my grid, and then you can use a little baby square or really anything you have. You could even do 2 lines and then connect them or whatever. You need to figure out how to draw these perpendicular to this rail here, or the top rail, whatever tools you have, you can make them work. So we have our opening here, and basically you just got to measure straight down. So my length here, well, I know I'm going to be clear. This length here should be at the end of my well. So then this one, I'm gonna have to get a flashlight to read my own measurements. It's right there. So this one was 10 1/4 inches straight down. This one is 7 3/4 straight down. This one is 5 3/4, and so on. And so what I'm basically gonna do is just do the same thing. We're gonna hold this against the back of the corner armor. So we'll do the same deal here. We'll trace our grid on here, and then we'll just trace the same measurements down from the top of the armor, and we'll have, even if it's not perfect at that point, we'll have a really good start to what we want. It's always easier to remove more. It's not easier to add more. So you can always kind of add a flare to kind of hide things, but for now, we're not going to run flares, just for now. I think I kind of like the look of flares, but we'll get there. So that's how I'm going to measure out these corners. All right, so now that we have all of our measurements transferred over to the corners, I went ahead and just kind of like free-handed out the circle, and it's going to be close enough. I am going to use this jig here, but I want to explain that, but I need to snap out of this and step up my quality. So I'm going to pick this up again tomorrow, but we're going to use the good camera because you guys deserve better videos. All right, I'll catch you in a minute. All right, guys, we finally have the weather, the time, and the space to do this little project. Yeah, let me explain to you guys what in the world this whole contraption I got going on here is supposed to do. I think the best way to go about cutting your corner armors, your blank corners, or really anything, is probably a plasma cutter. You can really get some cool templates and little tools and wheels and things to get a nice clean cut. I don't have that. I really don't want to spend the money on just that, just for this. So I asked around on the internet, and I found this weird solution. And this is an angle grinder, which has been bolted to a piece of angle iron, which has been bolted to the table. So obviously this is my radius. I'm running a 37-inch tire, so I went with a 38-inch radius. And this is either going to be an absolute death trap, or we're gonna get a nice clean cut. Wish me luck, I suppose. As with most major projects, there's always a couple side projects that need to happen to get your main project to be done. In this case, with the blank corners, obviously there's no bolts or cutouts for the taillight, and there's also no cutouts for the tailgate hinges. And I think the route I'm going to go, instead of cutting out for the hinges like most bolt-on armors, I'm going to take the hinges off, and we can either just drill 2 bolt holes and just bolt the hinges through the corner armor, or I really want to do the CJ tailgate conversion where it drops down. So either way, I think my best option here is to go ahead and take these hinges off. They're in really bad condition, as you can see. So these are notoriously really tricky because they're painted in there, and nobody ever takes these bolts off. Luckily, this Jeep has been pretty good to me, so I hit them with some penetrating oil. We're gonna hit these with the proper Torx, probably a T40 it looks like. And if you smash them with a hammer, I made a little tech tip getting the doors off. If you go watch that, it might help you. Same with the windshield here. If you smash these with a hammer, loosen everything up, and then go for the twist off, gives you a little bit better shot. All right, so we're ready to cut the second corner. I went ahead and transferred my same grid from the same side because I'm happy with those measurements, so I want to make this as symmetrical as possible. So I went ahead and transferred that onto this corner, traced it all out, looks really good, aligned it the best I could. And then I actually took the cut radius from the other one, this extra piece of steel here, placed it on top, and you can run the grinder around it, and it fits exactly what we have. And I took a measurement. You can get a measurement here. You can get a good measurement here from this factory cut edge back to where the cut landed, and so you know you can at least line yourself up that way. You could probably even just get away with tracing this and just going for it, but yeah, that's a good check right there. I'm actually not going to film cutting this one because it kind of shoots like sparks like all over the place, and we don't need that getting in the camera or the microphone. All right, so now that we have both of these corners cut, just a quick little side note, the second cut came out way cleaner because I went a lot slower. It took like probably almost a half hour to get through it. But it's not gonna need nearly as much cleanup. So that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna hit this with a, where are we? I'm gonna hit this with, I believe this is an 80 grit flat disc. We'll clean her up all nice, make sure there's no sharp edges or anything, make sure it looks all nice and pretty, and then we can go ahead and do as I've already done. Get these things clamped on there, make sure everything fits good. Looks really good to me. Obviously, it's always easier to cut more than it is to add more, but I'm pretty happy with how this thing's looking now. It really cleans up the back end of this thing. We're gonna have a big conversation about what the heck goes on back here because I'm not really sure what I want to do as far as the tailgate. So we'll figure that out later. Could always make modifications as needed. So one of the issues with reusing the stock tailgate would be you'd either have to cut out the whole entire, like, if you can remember what the stock hinges look like, you'd have to cut out like the entire rectangle for them to bolt flat up against the tub itself. Oh crap, it looks like my microphone died right in the middle of the sentence, but I was just going to say that if you don't mount these hinges right against the tub, the tailgate will not seal, and you need that seal to line up good. It does appear that Motobuilt includes some little spacers in their kit, and in the next clip you'll see me painting those up. trick I found over the years is that you can take a grinder or a Dremel or whatever, drill a slot in it, you can take a flathead screwdriver, hammer it, and then once you get it loose, you can just take it out like a flathead screw. Obviously you're going to have to sacrifice the screw, but it's already shot if you're doing this anyway. And in this case, we're going to have to sacrifice this hinge, or I can clean it up. It's an advantage of having a welder around. You don't have to be good at welding to patch something like that, but wow, this microphone really is going to drive me nuts. So in this clip I was just saying that I put some tape behind the corners to not only protect the paint, but it's going to make it a lot easier to see our marks, and it'll help once we drill these holes, you'll be able to just paint them right up, and it keeps your drill, the drill hole, I don't know if that's the term or not, but it'll keep that nice and clean because you have some tape on there. It won't fray as much, and it just helps a lot. It's just a nice touch. Here I am explaining that it's nice to have the tape here because you can just go ahead and squirt some paint right on there. Whatever you want to do, nail polish or any sort of protectant you want to put on that bare metal, now's your chance. One tool that's absolutely necessary to do any work like this, no matter what kind of Jeep you have, you're gonna need a nutsert tool. I got the one from Smittybuilt off of Amazon. It's really cheap, it gets the job done. I think they make some like electric or pneumatic ones that would be really cool, but for the hobbyist, this Smittybuilt one is perfect. Just realized that last clip probably had no audio. Well, that was me just saying that the corners were going to be ready in a few seconds. And so, here you go. Cleans up the look so much. So good. A little bit of a fitment issue with this one right here, but I think I can probably close that gap up with some shaping, but dang. These corners completely changed the look of this thing, and I couldn't be happier. So the only thing that's left is to find a good paint shop, get them painted, and then we'll move on to some rockers, figure out what we're going to do there. And then the last major fabrication that we need to get done before we wheel would be the bump stops. So the bump stops will be a separate video, and that's going to do it for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, find me on Instagram at I'd Rather Be Jeeping, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.
Warn ya, there's something about to change.